Daly.
Thanks, Ceann Comhairle, and while it's obviously always a pleasure to have Minister Hogan in here, it's a bit unfortunate that Minister Hayes isn't here, I have to say, because, well, OK, fair enough, I'm not blaming him, but I'm saying we have been subjected, obviously, to listening to this individual on the airwaves over the past period in time. Maybe so.
Why is Rapper no defence?
Now, they're distracting me now. Look, Minister Hayes has repeatedly said on the airways over the past period that we can never be prepared for every contingency or every eventuality. And of course that is the case. But I think it does miss the essential point in this debate that contingency plans and flood relief mapping and preparation can prevent a problem from becoming a crisis. And I think we have to put this in the context, and that's the first point that I want to make, is that what we have here is in essence a crisis. It is a national emergency, and I think the response in many ways is too little and too late. We have to recognise it first for what it is. There are people out there who have literally lost everything in this crisis. Every major city has been affected by flooding. And the first point, I think, is that it's fair to say that these events are not unparalleled and they're not unexpected. They may be worse than other weather problems that we've had, but the signs were there that these problems were going to arise. We had a flooding crisis in 2002, in 2009 and in 2011. And spot the trend here, the gaps are getting narrower, and extreme weather events are now occurring with a frequency and intensity greater than at any time in the last past century and a half since global climate records have been recorded. And I think we should mark the fact that a number of years ago we had 2 fatalities as a result of flooding, with a nurse in a basement and an off-duty Garda in Wicklow. And, you know, the question that has to be posed here is, what have we learned from that and what steps have been taken? Because the flood relief section in the Minister's Department has taken on no permanent engineers as a result of the recruitment embargo in the public sector. And we have to take account of that. I would like to ask the Minister to explain to us how many skilled expert staff have been left in the OPW to deal with this issue. How many of them have left and haven't been replaced? Now, I'm aware of the fact that every year the OPW takes on a number of graduates. They keep those people for 3 years at a time, which is very, very good. They give them a certain amount of training. But in actual fact, what happens is that those people at the end of that time are then sent, trained up to go and develop and assist somebody else's economy. Why can't they stay in Ireland? Chair, there seems to be a problem with the time. I actually wasn't given a 5-minute slot, which I'm entitled to. I definitely haven't been speaking for 5 minutes. Yeah, OK. The point I'm making is that there is a loss of expertise and a loss of ongoing knowledge in the OPW, which is not being replaced. And the people who are paying for that are the families who've lost everything around this state. And it is absolutely necessary that the Minister rectifies that if we are going to have any change in the situation. I believe that we are spending an enormous amount of money in outsourcing a lot of this flooding relief planning work to third parties, because the expertise is no longer in the OPW. I believe a lot of that work is being outsourced to foreign companies and not being done by Irish engineers, which I think is a travesty when we have thousands of young Irish engineers being forced to leave this country every year when there is necessary work that they could be done at home. And I think the reality is that there are tenders out there now. Prices have never been as low as they were now. We could have a programme of public works that repairs a lot of the damage, and I think the monies that the government have put forward, quite frankly, are minuscule in terms of what's necessary. I mean, reports the other day of the government approving funding of 70 million for repair damage caused by the recent storms in the west and south. That's obviously welcome, but when you see the figures in from Clare alone are nearly going to absorb that money. And it does come back to the point that when the state is spending 9 billion in interest repayments to debts that were never ours in the first place, it puts into scale the amount of money or how little you're putting into this. And I do think it's a little bit ironic that we are spending a lot of money on outsourcing flood relief work. We're not allowing people to be recruited who could plan for this, and we're spending money after the horse has bolted. The impact of climate change and extreme weather is having a serious effect on tens of thousands of Irish families who can't insure their properties. We've seen the points made about the damage to agriculture. This isn't going to go away, and we do need, and I would like the Minister, now that he's here to deal with this, responsibility for flooding, forward planning does count. Your department has depleted itself of its resources in terms, well, let's see the figures. How many engineers have left? How many have you replaced in permanent positions? And how much money have you spent on outsourced reports? And if you haven't done that, well, it begs the question, why weren't you better prepared than you were?